Alrighty, guys. I think we're here on the live stream for the community live stream. Glad to be back, everyone. I just want to go ahead and get a quick show of hands, seeing as we don't have the usual intro and start for most live streams where we have it on the loading screen in a sense. Could I get a show of hands for those of you in the comments? All right, cool. So we got people here. Awesome. Y'all hearing us loud and clear? Let's see here. Someone already said make me mod, please. All right, guys. Well, nice to have you here. This is one of my favorite live streams. For those of you who are new to the DataDash channel, it's one of my favorite things to do outside of chatting in the Discord, communicating with you guys through the comments on YouTube. It's a wonderful opportunity where I get to chat with some of the biggest supporters and active community members in the DataDash community. So today we're going to be doing the monthly Google Hangout live stream. It's something we do every month. And now that I'm full-time, I can stay consistent with each month. And so we got a good mix of people here. We're going to go through one by one, start simple with introductions, and then we'll break out into some kind of fireside chats, talk about some different topics, and have a good time and stuff. That's really what it's all about. So let's go ahead here. I'll make the Google Hangout the full window. It's good to see we got a decent amount of you in here. I'm going to go ahead and lower the chat a little bit here. And I'll go ahead and we'll just go through the list. So I think, Peter, you're the first one on the list here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
How's it going? Peter Cox is my name. I'm based in Ireland. I'm a landscape photographer by trade. Just became interested in crypto in the last 2 or 3 months. I've been watching it very interestingly, and I'm just really fascinated by the concept, what it can do, and of course, always happy to have an opportunity to make a little bit of money as well.
There you go. If you can do all at once, why not? It's a good opportunity. All right, well, thank you very much, Peter. Well, next we'll go to Mehdi. Mehdi is an active member in the Discord as well. You want to go ahead and talk a little bit, Mehdi?
Hey guys. My name's Mehdi. I'm a merchant mariner. I work at sea, and I got into crypto because when I was in the Maritime College in 2012, Bitcoin surged a lot, and I told a friend of mine who was studying finance at the time, I said, "Holy shit, did you hear about Bitcoin?" And he goes, "Yeah, I heard about it when it was a few dollars. Why?" I go, "It's about like $300 now, and it's been surging up and down." And he goes, "What? I heard about it when it was only a few dollars." And I said, and so I think I can't remember what happened, but I think it was Mount Gox. So that was 2014, but essentially it plunged, and so we just thought it's a fad, forgot about it. About 6-7 months ago, I was in Europe. A friend of mine, he's fairly religious and has limited. He's a friend of mine, and so he couldn't eat. So we went to this vegetarian shop. They had like falafels, and on the guy's till it said Bitcoin. This was in Holland, Den Haag in Holland, and I'm like, "Do you say Bitcoin here?" And his eyes light up. He goes, "Yeah, do you have some?" And then and there it should have clicked, And I thought to myself, "Fuck, like, what's going on here?" And I was just like, "That's strange that you take it. That's all. Like, I don't have any Bitcoin, and I should have got some then and there." But anyways, long story short, then I just thought about it. Another friend of mine made a shit ton of money, so I thought, this is it. I spoke to a friend of mine in Korea who studied data science, and he goes, we're getting in on the internet in the 90s right now, and you want to get in on this. And I've been in it since. Lost a ton of money. I've made every mistake in the book, so I'm just here to learn, basically.
That's awesome to experience both of those for us. I mean, the internet was a big movement itself, and of course you had the dot-com bubble where things got crazy. But man, I think we're seeing it with crypto right now. There's a lot of exuberance running into it. But Mehdi, thank you. That's an awesome story to hear you like seeing Bitcoin early on. I remember I somewhere there was some restaurant I saw where they accepted Bitcoin a long time ago. I think it was a local pizzeria in the area. So it's pretty cool to have those kind of back traces back a few years ago when no one really knew about it. Alrighty, so going on, Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a psychedelic woman living in Switzerland, as you can see from the picture. I've been on, I think, your first Hangouts briefly, and well, there's how long have I been in crypto? I think about I don't know. Not that long, really. 6, 7, 8 months. So I didn't really get into it at the time that I could say I'm living a life in luxury or anything like that. On the other hand, it wasn't really my goal, or that wasn't the reason I got into it. I got into it because I was fascinated by blockchain, the technology itself. and now fascinated by everything else that's popping up, like Tangle actually, which I actually prefer as a technology, if it would be adopted more and work, and the Tangle wouldn't take hours to confirm an address. But that's another topic. I digress. Anyhow, yeah. So that's me. That's about it for now.
That's awesome, Mark. Yeah, no, I agree with you on the whole kind of moral concept of getting, because the technology itself, more than, yeah, there's a great investment opportunity, but there's only a good investment opportunity because of the technology. And I think, you know, with so many people, they kind of step in speculative to Bitcoin. And I always try to tell them, don't look at Bitcoin, look at the back end technology, and, you know, watch something that can help break it down in under 2 to 3 minutes, and you'll get the big picture. And people, I think Andreas, I was watching a speech he did, and he was saying, if you're thinking that finance is all this, is the only industry this can go into, you're not getting the bigger picture and stuff like. And it's going to step into so many industries. So I'm glad you found that. And also Tangle as well interested me. But I'd love to talk to you because I don't know too much about the Tangle transactions. And you said that it backlogs up a little bit and it takes a while to get a transaction through. So I'd definitely like to talk to you about that sometime.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. It's, to be fair, they're in beta at the moment, so you know you can't really blame them. And yeah, you need to pay more attention to not make mistakes than on blockchains. I wouldn't recommend getting into crypto and buying IOTA, and then yeah, waking up with having your money somewhere but not there where it's supposed to be. So yeah, just watch out when you use the Tangle. But apart from that, I think it has a lot of potential.
Definitely, yeah. No, I agree with you. I'd like to see IOTA and more types of technology. Well, I know IOTA uses Tangle and stuff. I'd like to see more technology alternatives like Tangle that are showing different ways to decentralization as well. Because you see a lot of people, they'll take the Bitcoin source code, they'll make manipulations and say, oh, we offer this over the original Bitcoin source code. And it's cool. It was cool to see IOTA do something very different. So yeah, again, I think that as blockchain has become the next machine learning kind of buzzword in Silicon Valley and around the world, I guess, in the headlines of business development, I think it's cool to see that there's other competitors in the space. So it's awesome to hear. Well, Mac, I guess you want to go up next and introduce yourself a little bit? I wonder if Mac's here right now. Oh, there he is. Hey, Mac, you there? I saw you went off mute, Mac. I think your mic might not be on.
More input.
Yeah, that's true. You might have to go up to the gear icon, set it on. But I'll just go ahead. We'll go over to Jared here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Jure.
Yeah.
I'm from Slovenia. First time I heard about Bitcoin was through, well, I was playing poker for like 7 years professionally. And there was one type of poker game, open face Chinese poker, that was only available on one online casino, and they accepted Bitcoin. You couldn't deposit anything else but Bitcoin. So that was my first Bitcoin that I bought. It was $100. I remember I said to myself I need to buy like 5 more, because I checked it out a little, but I didn't go very deep. Because I was using mostly Skrill for money transactions, and I would have to go to the bank to deposit on Bitstamp to buy Bitcoin. It took like a few weeks, but when I got to it, it was like 300, and I said, fuck it now. So that was my first Bitcoin. But after that, soon after that, a friend of mine who knows Merlak from Bitstamp, he got recommended. Bitstamp is from Slovenia, of course, and the guys are actually from the same city as me. So what?
I was saying no way. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a few friends that were friends or school buddies with those two guys, Merlak and Kodric. So one of my friends got recommended Ripple, Me and one of my friends also got into Ripple. We bought for like $1,500, but it was the peak in those days for Ripple. So it went down. The investment was worth like $100, and we almost forgot about it. But this year, like in March, or I don't know what time it was, when Ripple was starting to climb back up again, we of course remembered about it, and we cashed out for like 10 times the investment back then.
Wow.
Nice.
So that was the seed for my crypto bankroll. But in November, one of my friends recommended me economy. You know, economy.
Economy. Mm-hmm.
Because he was actually a part of the team.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And yeah, and I went and bought for like $1,000 by EcoPrice ICO. So in March I had like 15K from economy and 15K from Ripples. So I had to get into this to understand and know where to put the money, because I didn't want to keep holding Ripple. And so yeah, I got into cryptocurrency at that time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, to get into Ripple economy, like, and that's cool. You have a lot of connections and stuff out in Slovenia and stuff who have been in the space.
There's so many companies that are in crypto from here, and like I know my friends are, one is a part of co-founded team, one is a part of economy team. Those two guys are from Bitstamp, but I don't know them personally. I mean, I spoke to them, but we are not friends. And also some other cryptocurrency companies. So yeah, Slovenia is great for this, and it's very small, so we can connect much easier.
No, it's awesome to be in such a good central location where all that's happening. That's one reason why I hope to move to San Francisco eventually, because all of the development. Actually, I lived right down the road. It felt weird when I moved out to the West Coast temporarily because I was right down the road from the Civic Project, which is the identification.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. Their office was literally just a few blocks down the road, and it was just, I remember I was like biking around, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's right there. Like, and it's crazy how in those, it's all in these isolated hubs around the world, but it's happening everywhere. And I think the one thing I liked, another thing Andreas said that I watched in his speech is he was talking about how he was giving a speech in India, and he was talking about how there's all these different kind of pockets in the world that are either developing countries or developed, and all of the innovation and finance is happening outside of New York City, out of London and the UK and stuff. It's happening out of the non-traditional areas. And it's so cool to see like Slovenia and stuff. I would have never thought there was that many connections in the area. So that's awesome to hear, man. That was definitely an awesome story.
Hey Nick.
Yeah, what's up, Aegis?
The stream's like running at like 5 FPS.
Oh, is it going bad? Let's see here. What if I could?
That's 5 FPS at best.
5 FPS. Oh no, that's not good. Let's see here. If I can, I'm trying to think of anything I could close out of. Probably close out of the charting application for now. Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead here. Hopefully the connection will get a little bit better. For now and stuff, we'll go ahead here next on to Hunter. You want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Looks like his microphone is muted.
There you go. Hey, Hunter.
Hi, guys. Yeah, sorry, I just walked in. I kind of missed the other part. So just everyone's talking about themselves?
Yeah, just a quick introduction, how you got into crypto, how it's been for you and everything.
Right. So I've done some technical analysis, day trading of futures markets, and Just recently, I had a few Bitcoin a few years ago, like a lot of us, and it went up, and then it just stagnated for like a year and a half, and I kind of I traded to some web developer like 5 Bitcoin because he owed me like I owed him $500, something stupid. I've just got back into it this year, just in July. Yeah, I bought Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Lisk, and IOTA, and Neo, I think. So I'm just kind of holding those, and I just stupidly bought a lot of it yesterday at the high point, at like 11,250. I bought $17,600 worth.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, but it was kind of an accident. I wasn't trying to buy that. I was just trying to get it into Bitcoin so I could get it to Binance and then buy some altcoins.
That's true.
It was just
Yeah.
bad timing.
No,
So.
honestly, sometimes that'll happen. Like you, as much as some people will be worried about buying into Bitcoin when it's higher and stuff, if there's cheap altcoins that are comparatively low to Bitcoin, I mean, sometimes you got to make that move if you want to get in the altcoin trades, and really, it kind of evens itself out. If there's the real market pullback and stuff, you can always readjust it. But yeah, no, sometimes it's hard to pick. It's hard to know when tops are coming in as well. But that's also, so you said you traded in futures markets.
The S&P futures, just index basically, room where a guy was kind of calling out his entries. That's pretty tough with all the computer AI stuff like you're competing against. So
it's so hard.
I didn't like.
Oh man. Yeah, it's competitive. I mean, the thing, a lot of people have been telling me it's rare, but sometimes they'll get people who start trading in crypto and then they want to trade stocks, and they see how successful they are day trading, and they're like, maybe I can move some of my capital and try and day trade in the stock market. And I'm like, it's a different ball game. They've got all the algo traders that will just, man, they're hard to compete against. It's a different ball game.
Because the computers know all the technical analysis, like head and shoulders. They know how people are trading in the wedges, and they're just gonna like flash crash to shake everybody out because they're trading on emotion where the computer doesn't care.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that I tell people, like right now in crypto markets, you have, with basic technical indicators, they usually work and stuff with trading, but like you said, the algos know how they're going to trade when they see those patterns. And for example, if people want an example of like how algorithms can do this, there's actually a website, you probably know about stock screeners and everything, like FinViz and a lot of websites where you can screen for certain stocks, and you could type in, I want to see maybe a stock that is currently having a head and shoulder pattern. You can easily type that into a stock screen filter, and you can get a full list of pictures of charts with their symbols, and you can see what charts are currently going through a head and shoulder, because the AI can detect it. It's incredible how smart it's gotten over the years. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think that when you look at that, it's like the one misconception is people think they can be one step ahead of the market. The machine learning and all of this technology inside of finance that's come out of fintech has just obliterated day trading. That's why if you look at the New York Stock Exchange, there's no one there. It's very few people nowadays. It used to be floor traders, but now all of it's either done on machines or in people in offices, doing very minimal trading or asset management. So it's a completely different ballgame nowadays. Finance has changed a lot over the past few years. But Hunter, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Man, that was awesome. It's cool to hear someone who's had previous experience in other markets and everything, and to hear you were paying back a friend or something. You owed him like $100 or something. I was like, I wonder how cheap Bitcoin was back then.
Yeah. I think everybody has that story. Like they looked at it in 2012 and they're like, this will never go anywhere.
Exactly.
When it was like, now they're kicking themselves and FOMO is real.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No, I mean, my story was I saw the Bitcoin introduction video, and I didn't look past that video. I was like, this is really cool, but it was kind of a gimmicky little animation. It's the biggest video I think on Bitcoin on YouTube. It's pretty much what is Bitcoin, and I got it. I was like, this cool concept of decentralization where you don't need banks and financial institutions. Sounded awesome, but I was just like, who runs this? How is it decentralized? And I didn't get the concept of the tech. And, it's one of those things, of course, could have all come ahead of time, and, we can play Captain Hindsight. Alrighty, Chef, you want to go on ahead and give a little detail on yourself? I think most people in the Discord are well aware of Chef, but he's one of our new moderators on the channel.
Oh.
You gotta go ahead.
Oh, hey guys. Can you guys got me?
Mm-hmm.
Hello. All right. Yeah. No, I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Winter Olympics of 2010. I saw the writing on the wall because we just had finished the big crash in 2008. Occupy Wall Street was happening, and I was like, I read something on the internet about this thing called Bitcoin, and no bank or government was in charge. It was the people's money. And I thought, damn, that's cool. This could fly. So when we were down at the Olympics, took the fam down and said to the wife, hey, there's some coin places, exchanges down here, downtown Vancouver. I've got $100. I'm going to go see if I can get this thing called Bitcoin. And she's like, yeah, whatever. You go to the casino anyway. So I went in these stores and I'm like, hey, I want Bitcoin. It's and they're like, what is it? What are you talking about? And I'm like, it's a digital currency. Nobody's in charge except people. And they're like, did you walk off the crack street a block away? Like, they had no idea what I was talking about. Unfortunately, kids were tired and went home, and kind of life carried on. But it's shown up in my life. And it's kind of funny if I finally took a step back and looked back and went, oh, 2010, 2013. I was on a cruise with the fam earlier this year, and I saw quite a few Filipino people, and they were saying they were sending money home. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm just thinking debit and whatnot, but then I heard about Bitcoin, and I'm like, oh. Then I moved to a new place, and my neighbor, who's about 10 years older than me, said, oh, have you heard of Bitcoin? And I'm like, it's funny you mentioned. And I hadn't looked into it really. It just about it. And he told me how he put $2,000 Canadian over many years, just buying dollar averaging, and he owned 2 Bitcoin. Well, he showed me his wallet, and it was $11,000. And I was just like, okay. So that was September 23rd of this year. He now wants me to trade for him. I've surpassed him. I've been living on Discord, and it's just been phenomenal. I mean, I am probably a little obsessed and manic right now. But it's just when I get into something, I'm like a dog on a bone, 150%.
You're the advisor for the brother who introduced you.
Yeah, it's just wow. Yeah, it's just something that I totally see happening. I mean, I'm waiting for her to correct to 5500. That would be perfect, because I mean, everybody I notice wants to instant millionaire overnight, but it took Bitcoin. I mean, it's such a small amount of time in the grand scheme of things to get to where she is. We're looking at what, 8 years? Really? Let's call it 7 years. And it's just like, oh my Lord. So I'm teaching it to my kids. I have a 17-year-old boy that's all about getting a new car. And, it's all about money for him. But I'm just saying, look, if this could be, you got to talk his language. This could be worth as much as Apple.
Yeah.
And you're getting in at a quarter. Like you're getting in at a quarter, right? So, no, it feels good. I just actually text him. He put 100 Canadian dollars in to Bitcoin. He got $85 after the fees, and that's Canadian. And I just sent him a text saying, your $85 has turned into $189. Good on you.
There you go.
Right? So he's all pissed off. He couldn't get into Wabi because we were one of the lucky ones. Being in Canada, we have the ability to go into ICOs. And it's funny because that's actually how I got into trading crypto. Was I found ICOs before I found exchanges.
They're taking the headlines just as much as Bitcoin is. Like, I mean, Bitcoin's become like the trending topic ever since it started trending around like 7,000 to 10,000. But before that, ICOs like Ethereum based like ERC20 tokens.
It was a quick moneymaker.
Yeah, I mean,
it was all about getting a bonus. And I'm like, why isn't everybody doing this? These companies are giving 20 and 30%. And from a advertising and selling stuff at a value, I'm like, why are they devaluing it? Why are they giving this much away? And then I realized it's a lot easier to get venture capital out in the crypto world by making these magic tokens versus giving away your company on the Shark Tank, a percentage of your company. So when they come into the exchange, they have money behind them, they look good, people invest. But unfortunately, it's turned into the game where who can dump faster and make the profits. So I kind of got out of the ICOs because I saw the tech has blown me away. I'm in my early 40s, so I grew up with when you could make a pot of coffee and have a cup, and then you'd be hooked up to the internet. So it's been a time, but I have to say thank you, Nick, and to everybody else I've spoken to and learned here. It's just been an incredible, just the beginning of a journey, and literally a revolution when I see projects, and not trying to shill, but seeing something like Substratum, what that's going to do to third world countries that are under dictatorship and think North Americans eat their young, and it's just going to be incredible.
No, seriously, I agree with you. I think, you know, what you were talking about earlier, you were talking about like kind of like how there's all these ICOs popping up, especially Ethereum ERC20 based tokens. And there is like, I think a lot of, I know I talk crap about ICOs a lot because there is a lot of crap out there, but there is,
totally.
It's just like what you saw with the .com era. It's very early on blockchain development. And what you're seeing is, of course, anyone can create an ICO. That's the thing at the end of the day, why there's so much. And that's the same with tech companies back during the .com era. Everyone was popping out a tech company that was going to sell this or do this on the internet.
We're going to deliver dog food to your room.
Exactly.
That's.com.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It was like crazy stuff like that. And if you filter through it, though, if you find the really good projects, the 1% of projects that really stand out, I'd say 1 to 2%, because depending on how many coins are being created through ICOs, and some are doing well. Yeah. But if you find that 2%, you see not only technology, but you actually see an actual concept that is completely changed. Some of them have been concepts we've seen in the physical world, but they're applied to blockchain, and it completely changes it. And like you said, you're saying Substratum. That's just like when I saw that, I was like, that changes web hosting. Much like when I saw people talk about cloud computing. I don't know if Sia Coin's going to do it. I don't know if I'm trying to think of all the different ones. I know they have Filecoin, had one of the big.
Competition is now starting, as what we're seeing in the ICOs and in the whole blockchain industry.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think you're gonna have definitely, I think, like a little bit of a flush period after all these ICOs. The really bad ones will dish out, but the good ones will survive, just like you had the Amazons, the Yahoos, you know, all the other tech companies that actually stuck around and actually came into fruition. So, and we'll have also new ones add over time and stuff, and it will get more competitive. But nonetheless, man, yeah, it is an exciting time, Chef. Thank you for sharing that and stuff. And I think we had one of our friends who's been a long time viewer as well. I like your mic setup, man. By the way, we got Krill coming in here. How you doing, man?
Nice.
Pretty good. Hey,
nice to have you.
Very pleased to be finally with you guys. Does this come through?
Yeah, no, it's going awesome, man. You know, it's funny because I think you have almost the exact same setup I'm gonna have. You have the Blue Yeti, and then you've got the stand, the pop filter. I'm waiting for that right now on my mic. So you got the whole rig, man.
This one's almost worn out. The screws have come out. So I've used this for years. It's a beast. Fantastic. Love it.
It is. It's awesome. I've been using the Yeti ever since I started the channel and stuff, and I liked it so much. I was just like, I bought it. It was actually my friend's, and I asked him if I could just buy it off. Same with the webcam, but yeah, no, it's a great microphone. Well, dude, glad to have you on here. Would you want to maybe talk a little bit about yourself and maybe your kind of adventure in crypto?
Yeah, sure. I'm on the older side. I'm 52. I'm in the film industry. I teach and I consult to screenwriters and film producers out of Sydney in Australia. And yeah, at some point I realized I had, because life in Sydney is pretty expensive, and I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and that money that I did have was dwindling rapidly. And I didn't know what to do with it, really, because I don't have experience in trading at all. And then I had this student, one of my best screenwriting students, who I hadn't heard from him for a long time. And I rang him up because, you know, we kept in touch because he was a very regular writer delivering fantastic stuff. And I rang him up and said, why haven't I heard from you? I've got a new hobby, he said. And in the background, I heard this ping noise all the time. So what is that? That's Telegram, he said. And then it turned out he had been trading and had been doing really well. Now, he's one of the most grounded people I know. So that was completely contrary to this aura of, you know, mystery and suspicion that hangs around crypto. So I asked him, and you know, he explained what he was doing, and it sounded, you know, very appealing. I'd been following the scene from a distance, but never really looked into it. And I decided, you know, let's take the dive. I took, you know, 40% of my savings, basically, which was not a lot of money, I can tell you that, and put that in Bitcoin, and you know, start learning. I made a trade every now and then, and followed your videos, and they're just, you know, they're a godsend, because I think if anything, they saved me from losing the lot. And you know, now after about 4 or 5 months, I can say that, you know, I've made a little bit, not a ton, because I did realize that in order to really make the best out of it, you need time. You need to keep your eye on it. You need to do the research, and I barely have the time to watch all your videos. So maybe you got to slow down there, but you know, your plans is quite the opposite, I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I decided to maybe, you know, I was investigating a lot of altcoins and was not trading very smartly. I actually didn't set stop losses, which at some point it was just bleeding it out completely. And then I went back to Bitcoin and learned to be a bit more disciplined and think before I traded. And also start watching Tone Vase's videos on the time indicators. Mm-hmm. And I find that I'm in a much better position now, and to not freak out, not FOMO, not FUD, and try and understand. But the bottom line is that I'm completely on the same line with you guys, that this is not going to go away. And I hate the banks just as much, as, if not more, as you guys, because I've got a few good stories there. I won't bore you with those now. But yeah, and I'm in it and I'll stay in it.
Well, no, I know I wouldn't. You know, I probably wouldn't get bored by the bank stories. We'll have to talk about that sometime. But yeah, no, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I think, you know, well, first off, I'm excited because I saw a lot of people in the chat when you came on. You're talking about being from Sydney. Everyone in Australia like lit up in the chat. So I'm excited to come out there. I'm hoping letting y'all know, for those of you watching, I am going to be trying to schedule, I'm working on it right now, a global kind of travel plan. I want to hit up Europe first, and then I want to go to China, and then I want to go to Australia. So I'm going to be in Sydney and Melbourne, for those of you out there who are my fellow Aussies on the channel. So I'm excited. It's gonna be cool.
I will drive you around, my man. By the way, I have to leave in about half an hour, but I'll see if I can take my phone with me. I'll give you a view of the Opera House as I drive past in about half an hour, 45 minutes. How's that?
Dude, hey, that's a good deal with me, man. That was one of my favorite things. I love, like, I have a mental picture in my head of Sydney and, like, the coastline. And, man, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful place inside Australia. So I hope to make it out there soon. Again, like I'm estimating for is March. And, man, I would love to see that. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cool.
All right, well, we got through an introduction of pretty much everyone here. I'm glad to have everyone here on the stream, and I'm glad to have a good amount of 840 of you in here. So anyways, let's go ahead here and let's dive into some topics. So first and foremost, I always like to ask people who come on the stream, I start off with an interesting question and kind of get you all engaged and stuff. And if you don't have anything that you would meet as an answer and stuff, or if you just don't want to answer, no problem. But we'll go down the list like we traditionally do. So first and foremost, my question that I came up with was, you know, what kind of crypto project are you all interested in most? Is there anything on the front lines that, you know, a short summary, 30 seconds to a minute, you're absolutely, you know, ecstatic about? I could list a few real quickly. I think people generally get my opinion on things. I think Substratum, I'm huge on that. Got a long-term investment in Substratum. There's a few. I like Vertcoin. I think that's going to meet the demand where Bitcoin Gold came in with decentralized mining. Nothing extremely revolutionary, but I think we'll meet that. Cardano, which I'm going to be covering tomorrow. Again, I've had to continue pushing off. Really big on that. And there's a few other projects, of course, but I've talked long enough, so I'll go ahead and let other people go through. I think we have Debilly in here. You there, Debilly?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I guess we didn't go through an introduction with you. If you want to toss a little introduction as well, but if you also you got any,
I don't want to bore people to death.
Debilly is one of our. He's one of our computer. He's one of our community moderators on Discord. So yeah. We recently brought him onto the moderator team. We're glad to have him. And yeah, you go ahead and take it away.
All right. My buddy got into crypto in last February. And he put like $1,000 in, and he came to me because we were in the same office, and he basically told me one day, I think it was like 2 months later, he said, dude, he said, my $1,000 is now $3,000. And I'm like, sure, of course, man. You got to show me some stuff for me to believe you. And he went ahead and showed me his Blockfolio on his data phone. And I'm like, all right, that's super sweet. So when you're cashing out? So he said, I'm not cashing out. I'm writing this until the end where it's going to bring me. So I said, all right, that's interesting. He said, I strongly suggest that you get into this as soon as you can because we just don't know how high this is going to get. So I said, all right, I'm going to put a little savings on the side and we'll talk about this in a few weeks or a few months. So he said, all right. So at the end of July, he comes back to me and says, that few months is now. And there's going to be like this Bitcoin Cash fork happening. And I think you might want to be in the mix because you're going to learn a lot of stuff. And just keep it a micro experiment so you don't get burned too much. Mm-hmm. So I followed all his recommendations, but he didn't really give me any pointers on coins or anything. He just wanted me to go out there and binge consume all the videos out there. So that's how I found you and many other good YouTubers. And so, yeah, the first month I thought, this is great. This is easy. I made $100 pretty quick. And, well, it wasn't that easy because the next 2 months I was caught holding about 20 bags of alts and my wallet started bleeding and I didn't find it as much fun as in the first month. And so I changed my whole strategy and now I just very little into alts, just the one that I really like or that I have faith in, that I feel good going to sleep at night. And most of them are privacy coins. And the rest basically is. Oh, I think we got a job on Debilly there. But no, I will say hopefully we can get it back on here on the call. But I do agree with privacy coins. That's something I've been talking about on the channel for quite some time. I covered a few different ones. I covered Monero, I've covered Pivx, I've covered Verge. But there's a lot of competition in this space. We're actually talking about, Debilly and I were talking about last night on the Discord, how privacy coins, there's such an opportunity for it, but there's so much competition. And you also have Dash as well that can do private send. So yeah, there's quite a decent amount of competition, which will make it hard to pick those key winners that get adopted. But then again, Monero and Dash do have a good advantage in that sense. But I guess until we get to Bitly back and stuff, I guess we'll go ahead. Peter, do you have any coins or projects that you're looking at right now?
Honestly, not really. I've been looking with interest at the coins, but I haven't had the time to really go into detail on some of the projects. Some of the ones that you express interest in, like Cardano, for example, ARC. I've got some money and things like that. Those are interesting, but I haven't dived as deep as I'd like to right now. Just Bitcoin and Ether are keeping me busy. Really, what I've learned so far in the couple of months that I've been at this is that any instinct I have as to when to either buy or sell something is probably a good idea to do the opposite. So I've managed to curb my enthusiasm a little bit in that regard, and it's done me a lot of good.
I'll tell you, it is funny sometimes. I would sometimes do that with stock trading, and as simple as it sounds, and almost as backwards. It's like, why would you go against your instinct? It honestly works sometimes because you go against the original human thought. Because everyone wants to step into markets like that, and they're like, I know this is gonna be a winner and stuff, and sometimes it can turn out to be the opposite a lot. So, okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, I think you got a good list of projects there. I can't wait to cover Cardano and. Arc as well still has one of the best teams I've seen in the space. They've got like a lot of like original OG like blockchain developers and just a good span of developers on the team compared to most projects that sometimes are limited to like 2 or 3 who've really never built any blockchain projects, but they're starting off with like the Bitcoin source code or something. But Billy, sorry, I saw you you dropped out of the thing, but you were talking about privacy coins.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that the connection got lost, and I was probably talking for 2 minutes without anyone hearing what I was saying. So it's all right. Yeah, basically I was just saying that the only coins that I really trust now are privacy coins because they have a tendency to shoot almost every month, despite of what Bitcoin is doing for the most part. We saw that happening with Dash. We saw that happening with PIVX, Verge, and I saw that happening also with Zcoin.
Zcoin, yeah.
So I'm thinking these guys are meeting probably the #1 requirement in crypto, which is censorship resistance. So when you got that covered, fate and adoption is going to ensue, and then it's a matter of security and adoption.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. One of the big reasons I've been talking about privacy more and more in the crypto space is because the demand for it is never going to go away. And it was one of the big reasons why people adopted Bitcoin at first, because governments didn't have what they use nowadays. I learned the actual official terminology as I've been learning new things about Bitcoin and blockchain. They use social network topology. Which is the same thing they use to check with, like, for example, with your Facebook profile and Twitter. They can look at connections between it. And the blockchain works a lot like that as well. Everyone's decentralized, and there's connections. Every transaction is connected in some way. And the privacy aspect that Bitcoin used to have back in the day, when people would mine it, when it was bought on exchanges that didn't have KYC, you had that sense of privacy with Bitcoin. And it was just an address. No one would know at the end of the day. However, now there's 2 genuine fears. It's the lack of privacy, and then also I know, for example, with like solutions like Zcoin, they have a zero knowledge proof, where you actually go about creating each time you make a transaction, it actually deletes the coin and mints a new one. And the reason it does this is because it fits, not only does it work with the zero proof knowledge, but it also has a very interesting trait. Let's say, for example, one of us here was making a transaction and the Bitcoin we held was tied with money laundering, some kind of criminal activity or something. If that was the case and we just didn't know it, if we were on the Bitcoin ledger and everything, that transaction go into our wallet, and if that was tied to our personal identity, we could be liable or tied to it because we received that money. With Zcoin, you don't know, and no one else knows if you're getting that kind of tied to it. So if you're just getting money that, it seems like a normal transaction, you don't have to worry on the other end and stuff if a government's going to come in and seize your funds or, criminalize you for something you didn't do. So it's really interesting to see there's so many different privacy aspects, and it's becoming, I think, more and more apparent as it becomes bigger that people who, I think especially people who have large stakes in crypto who want to keep their identity clear might hold privacy coins that have good features. So I want to do a video in the future talking about the different types of privacy for coins. There's all kinds of different methods. Zero knowledge proof is one of my favorite, though, that I've come to really like. So, Mehdi, do you have any?
Yeah, PIVX even adopted it as well.
But yeah, no, PIVX, exactly, they did. I saw that, and I was happy to see they're doing it because I think more will continue to pick it up. But Mehdi, you want to go ahead? Do you have any coin projects you're looking at?
Yeah, and I really like what you were saying about anonymity. I think being anonymous is like, it really frustrates the shit out of me because I see people saying, like, I hear it all the time at work, right? Like they go, oh, I have nothing to hide. I don't care if the government's watching me, right? Like, it's not that. When I go to take a shit in the toilet, I shut the door, not because I have anything to hide. It's private, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I have here is a $10 Australian note. It's the latest and the greatest that we've got. When I use that at the shop, No one knows that I spent it. Sure, they can track the serial number, know what bank it came from, what ATM it went through, but no one knows who exactly it was that spent this at the shop. That is a crucial factor, not just because I might be doing something illegal, but say, for example, I don't know, I might be buying a sex toy or something, you know, that I don't want
The whole
my
world
banker to
about.
know about. Or if I'm a politician, I don't want my, you know, or if I'm a preacher and I don't want my congregation to know about. The fact of the matter is privacy is important, right? Whether it's something, if it's something like just menial or if it's something sinister or whatever else, whatever. But essentially, I'm a big fan of privacy. For the first time in years, I've jumped back on Facebook, mainly because I need it for different cryptocurrency alerts and etc. But I don't like it because there was a video on Reddit not long ago. Sorry if I'm digressing, but this is the thing. Facebook right now has an algorithm that listens to your conversations. There was a guy, he posted a video where he was talking to his wife. They don't have a cat, and it's on Reddit videos. Have a look; it's fascinating. And he goes, all right, well, I'm going to test this. I'm going to start talking about cat food. And he's like, gee,
yes,
we
I've
could
seen
sure
that.
use some cat food right about now, and kept talking about cats and cat food. Next minute, the next day, he's getting fucking alerts on his phone.
It's all cat food ads.
Talking selling him cat food, right? Exactly. So when it comes to that aspect, what we don't realize is that technology is exponential. Everything is moving really fast, and we're at a crucial moment in history that if we don't clamp down, right, it's going to be a dangerous future. Not it couldn't necessarily mean that we're all going to die paranoia, but we can't achieve what we can as freely as we would be if look at it this way. There was a TED talk some time ago where I was talking about if you print something on a printer, it puts like a little digital signature that you can't actually see unless you actually scan it, and it's almost like a serial number where it says, okay, it came from this printer. Then they can say, okay, well, where did this printer come from? It was from this shop, etc. And they can actually track down a certain area or whatever based on that printer. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, that's all well and good when we live in a free society and things are going well, but no one expects a Adolf Hitler or a Stalin or, even a Ronald Reagan to come through. And at the end of the day, when shit goes south, you want to be anonymous. And I think when it comes to anonymous coins, I think that's something that we really need to invest in, not just as we're going to get mad gains from it, but as a matter of principle. It's the same way why I invested in Substratum, not just because I think I'm going to make money out of it, but I think it's important and as a matter of principle. But so I'm in Substratum, not a huge position, but just enough. I'm in a few anonymous coins. I really like Verge because I think it's nice and cheap and it's going to eventually get to the moon. I like PivX. Zcoin I haven't got in yet, but I didn't know what you just said. I'm going to get into it. I'm trying to actually set up a masternode with a friend. And I've got Cardano. I like it because I think I like Ethereum. I like Ethereum as a platform, but I'm not a technical side. But I've seen a YouTube video where the guy from Steemit, who's on EOS, which I think is a giant scam. I actually lost a bunch of money on as soon as I found out about EOS. The fact that they've spent $700 million for 1 year fundraising for $700 million and they haven't produced anything, and they want another couple of years or whatever, and they want another $2 billion scares me. That just screams scam. So I'm just like, no, fuck this. I sold at a decent loss, and I just got out of it because I think I don't know, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's legit, but I think it's a bit insane to ask for that much money to make essentially software. And I'm in a number of, I've got way too many coins, and I'm trying to scale back, but my new strategy is I'll buy a coin as soon as I've doubled my money. I'll take out my initial investment and just keep it, because you never know what the future is going to bring. I was really hopeful about ARK, but as a lot of people are saying, they're really overextending themselves on what they want to do. Civic, I bought in, it's gone nowhere, it's staying flat, but I'm just holding on to it. I've got a lot of coins really, but Ethereum was my biggest holding. I sold recently because frankly, I think we're really discounting what Tether is doing. The more I look into Tether, the more I'm concerned, and I think it's going to be Mt. Gox 2.0. I honestly see Tether just completely crashing the market. Everything's going to bleed. There's going to be a massive panic sale. This is my paranoia thinking, but I honestly think that I think that when we're seeing Bitcoin right now at 10 grand, I honestly think that it's going to go below to $1,000 once, you know, Tether rips the bottom out of everything. Because like I didn't trade in Satoshis before. I used to trade nothing but Tether. Like when people goes, oh man, I got this coin at 1,200 Satoshis, that doesn't mean anything to me because I used to only trade in Tether because it's stable, right? Bitcoin goes up and down, but the US dollar generally only moves 1% here, 2% there. So I knew roughly how much the valuation was, but that was the biggest mistake because essentially I think the end goal, because Bitcoin is the grandfather, because everything is related to Bitcoin in the end, we really need to, like, as new traders, try and get on the Satoshi side and try and make the end game to own as much Bitcoin as we can, because I frankly don't see Bitcoin going anywhere in the end long run. But yeah, so I'm really scared of Tether. I don't like EOS, but there's a lot of good coins out there, and Cardano is one of them. I'm a big believer in it because the more I read into it, the more I like. People like Meridian off the DataDash community talk well about it, and if Meridian likes it, I'm on board because he doesn't like anything. He rips the guts out of anything because he's a technical guy. He understands what's going on. He's a very smart man. So Cardano and privacy coins is what I'm going to be looking into the most, I think, lately.
Cool. No, a few points on what you're saying. First and foremost, and you're talking about the aspect of privacy. A good documentary I watched recently, guys, and this is why I've kind of come to accept, like, I bet my privacy has probably been breached being a figurehead in the crypto space. There's a documentary, I think it's Citizen 4, and it was the documentary that was shot during the Edward Snowden leak. It was literally, they filmed it in the hotel room where he gave his big I watched that about a few weeks before I left from Palo Alto, and I never saw the documentary. I remember when Snowden came out with it, I was kind of a believer at the time that they were doing something of the sort, and then Snowden came out, changed everything, and people started talking about it. But it was wild to hear the extra details he didn't mention, or unless you really dove into it. And what they found later on and stuff with other connections is that, I mean, you just learn how much of an apparatus they have of information and data. It's something that, whether you're a privacy freak or you're someone who's like, at the end of the day, like, hey, I got nothing to hide, it's a matter of reaching into your everyday life and collecting metadata, meaning literally connecting the dots of everything that you do in your day-to-day life and telling a story. Because with your mobile phone, which you're carrying around everywhere, they can either record audio, track location, and they can see what not only you're buying, but they can know exactly where you are, what you're saying, what you're doing. And as much as at the end of the day, it's for your security. And it might be to tailor advertisements to you, whatever. Even if these are true, it's an absolute breach on your right to privacy as an individual. But again, it comes with the technological age. I think it's a symptom with it. But we need to take steps, just like Maddie was saying, with our cryptocurrency, our financial freedom more than anything. It's a very important thing to do. So again, innovations in that space are key. Another thing you mentioned, EOS. I am starting to completely agree with you on that, because the more that I think about EOS, I remember when it had its first big launch off, not to mention that wasn't the only phase of the ICO, if I remember correctly. I don't want to make any misstatements, but I think they have a second one coming up not too far away, where they're going to do the second. Is there no second token sale? Is there a second one?
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think
it's way too much money to make software.
Exactly. No, you see so many startups start off with 50,000 and they make the next big thing. In blockchain development, you already have so much to work from a base level. You can take, I understand what they're trying to do is pretty big. They're trying to do what Ethereum is, but you don't have to, just like Steam it, you don't have to access some kind of desktop application. You can open these applications in the web, and you can be using the blockchain just like Steam it. And I think it's revolutionary if they can do it. But if their thing is, oh, we're basically Ethereum, but you don't need to use the tools that you would originally with building or using decentralized applications and stuff, I don't think that's enough of a selling point. And just because it has Dan Larimer, more than anything, what scares me is Dan Larimer has left Steemit, he's left BitShares, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he had one more other project he worked on, but having someone with that kind of track record, he's just been moving very quick. Oh yeah, Maddie, you can come in, definitely.
Yeah, sorry, just one other thing though. With Ethereum, I'm a big Ethereum fanboy. I just hopped off right now because, frankly, like I said earlier, Tether scares me. And I'm just going to sit on the sideline for a little bit. I've still got my altcoins, but the large part of my chunk of my portfolio was Ethereum because it's the most stable, I think, mainly because people sell it for ICOs and buy it for ICOs, so it stays like at a flat line by and large. But Ethereum, I think, whether it's centralized or not, I'm not a technical guy. I still don't understand it. I think that the fact that they've got a shit ton of devs that are like world class, like from my understanding, like I'm not in like, I'm not even allowed in the United States, but from my understanding, the people that are working on Ethereum right now are the sort of people that could get a job at Facebook or Amazon or Google tomorrow, anytime they wanted. But the devs they've got are world class, right? And because they're already established, they're already there, right? So I think Ethereum has a good standing. Like they're basically like, they got the loaded gun. But for me, like it's like a David and Goliath, and Cardano, from what I haven't looked too far into it, but Cardano could be an up and comer based on the fact that they want to do things that Ethereum can't do. And that being said as well, I'm also invested in QuantStamp quite heavily, because I think smart contracts is the only part of Ethereum that really hasn't been capitalized on, and I like what.
It was the big it was one of the big standouts.
Sorry.
No, I completely agree with you. No, I was just trying to build on what you were saying stuff. Cardano, I'm gonna be doing a video on Cardano soon, guys, and it's funny because I remember I was talking in the Google Hangout before we went live. How it launched around for $700 million when it came out. And the reason I didn't look into it and cover it was because I thought it was going to be like 8 shares, one of the ICOs that launched in the top like 10 or 15 and then just dipped afterwards. I thought it was just maybe it had a huge marketing hype up. But I never realized, I was like, well, I never saw any marketing material. No one reached out to me about it. I should have looked into it, but I did. And I have been over the past week. And it's one of the more exciting crypto projects I see, because they're not just rehashing old Bitcoin source code. What they're doing is they're going for the third phase of cryptocurrencies. So I'll talk about this in the video. There's been 3. Bitcoin was the first type of cryptocurrency. And you basically had simple kind of transactions on a decentralized network. And then along with that, you had Vitalik, who originally worked with the Bitcoin Core team, and he was like, hey, why don't we build this on top of Bitcoin? And Bitcoin Core didn't want it. They said they wanted to keep Bitcoin relatively simple. And then you had phase 2 of cryptocurrencies. You had what Ethereum was at the end of the day. You could build smart contracts. You could execute certain actions. And this is, again, if you all know about Ethereum to a degree and stuff, you'll know that you can use it for legal contracts, setting certain types of executions and actions on the blockchain. And it's really interesting stuff, but it's very limited with Ethereum. And as much as you see corporate partners, like Mehdi was saying, there's a lot of corporate partners working with these different platforms like Ethereum. As much as it has great developers, you're going to need something that Ethereum and Bitcoin don't have. And a way to really set this in was when Ethereum went through the DAO hack, okay? So what happens is with Ethereum, when they had the DAO hack, it was hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Ethereum. What they did is something known as rolling back the blockchain.
Live en ce moment avec DataDash sur YouTube.
Wait, what did you say? But anyways.
Mais il y a Big Bang Theory qui font un épisode.
Tabarnak, turn off your microphone.
Oh yeah, that's on tonight. Big Bang Theory.
Oh, the Big Bang Theory, yeah. No, they have with crap, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you're talking about the DAO hack. No, that's fine. So with the DAO hack, what they did is they rolled back the blockchain, and in simple terms, it sounds a lot like what it is. They pulled back the transactions, and they were able to correct the issue. But the person who did this was Vitalik and the rest of the developers for Ethereum. Now, it sounds great on paper. I think we all agreed that would be good to be able to roll back from a hack. You know, it sounds like a great thing on paper, and I think all of us would have probably made that decision if we were the God player. But that's the problem there. The fact that you have someone or a team of people who have so much centralized control over a decentralized platform. And that means that Ethereum, much like Bitcoin, has one major flaw like most cryptos. It doesn't have a system of governance. And this is where you have phase 3 of cryptocurrencies. And this is where things like Cardano are coming in. And you even have someone who was originally on the dev team for Ethereum working on the Cardano project. And there's a lot of great interviews with him. They have great, fantastic videos talking about what they're trying to do, what different categories and focus points they have in development. Oh, Chef, no problem, man. We'll see you back when you get back.
Sorry, I'll be back. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Cool. No, take your time.
It comes with the duties of being a dad.
Dad, hey, being a dad comes first. DataDash is second.
Yeah. All right, back in a second.
All right, but yeah. So again, I don't want to ramble on about it forever because I will talk about it. It is something very fascinating once you look into it, and I understood instantly after I saw this huge run up that I hadn't even caught, because I've been keeping up with Bitcoin and doing research on Tether and a lot of other projects for the channel, and I saw Cardano spike up. It started to make sense to me a little bit that this has some potential. But to be fair, I don't know if the valuation's justified at this point. Everyone has different opinions, and it is early on. They don't have much of the tech that they're trying to build delivered yet. And they have a timeline, though, and it's going to be, what's cool more than anything is it's going to be a community-based timeline after they get these first phases rolled out. So it's going to be an actual cryptocurrency that has a representative democracy system where we can build the timeline and build what we want to develop. So anyways, going on, Mark, do you have anything that you're watching outside? I know you said IOTA was one of the projects you were looking at, but anything else?
Yeah, the privacy, I liked what Matey said about privacy coins. I think that's really important to remember. The privacy coins aren't just there to money launder, to buy stuff on the darknet markets. It's the reason we need privacy coins or privacy-based technology is because we're walking around with devices that are sharing our location and what we're doing all the time. We need this technology to be implemented in everyday situation or in all kinds of stuff we do every day. So they're building the foundation for that. And at the moment I'm looking, I have some Verge, actually quite a lot of Verge, but that's just because it's evaluated at a very low price. But that, and then Monero, I'm looking at the Covery protocol they're building, which would actually make it really private, which would get rid of the IP address issue, which is essentially a big issue. In any case, we transact over the internet. And yeah, back to IOTA, I guess IOTA fascinates me because of one, we're talking about decentralization, and IOTA is one project that, yes, at the moment it isn't. It's very centralized just to keep it alive. I'm taking them up on their word that they can and will shut down the servers that are keeping it alive when the transactions come in. Scalability is not an issue. It's actually the contrary to the blockchain. It's more scalable the more transactions you have. It's quicker the more transactions you have. And the energy problem we have with blockchain technology, yes, the energy consumption that is becoming a huge issue. If you look at the market evaluation and the energy we're burning just to keep blockchains running at the moment, this can't go on. This can't be adopted in mainstream, and we're using proof of work. This is not sustainable. We can't do this. I'm not saying IOTA is free and we're not using any energy, but it's you only use energy if you transact and you confirm 2 other transactions, which makes it decentralized once those servers are switched off, in fact, and you only use energy when you actually need to. So that is one aspect, or two aspects of IOTA I really like. And yeah, and Monero I'm watching closely, and I think the price will reflect the demand for privacy coins, which it has been in the last couple of weeks.
No,
as you may have noticed.
I like what you're mentioning with IOTA. That's very true. It fixes 2 very big issues. From the start, by making it with the Tangle framework and stuff instead of using blockchain, you by default are not having to depend on a very centralized mining pool, which Bitcoin has sadly started to grow ever since mining pools have become more and more popular. People have stopped running their own nodes and everything, and because of this, it's become centralized. But with IOTA, what's interesting is that the way transactions work is if you want to transact any kind of payment, you have to confirm 2 prior transactions. So like Mark was saying and stuff, it's more transactions equal actually faster speeds and stuff on the Tangle framework and stuff, and it's quite simple. You don't pay any fees. It's there, so you can do microtransactions on it. This would be good for machine-based economies, and you have so many potential opportunities. Go hopping in the car. Oh, cool. Yeah, I want to see the definitely try to get the shot for us and everything. That's gonna be cool, of the theater out in Sydney. But anyways, yeah, there's so many great things happening with IOTA. It's the question of, like Mark said, if they can get to the decentralized manner. Most projects, I think, like Neo as well, are starting off very centralized, and they will become more decentralized over time. And it's kind of like what Cardano's doing as well. They have kind of not centralized control, but centralized leadership right now until they get the governance system implemented. And it's kind of like it's a walk into something, you know, something sustainable for the long term that can actually walk on its own two legs, because most systems can't do that until you have a, you know, a good set of developers and a good team who've created the project and truly understand it to help walk people towards a decentralized path. So I like IOTA. It cuts down a lot of the energy used for transactions. Most of the energy used in mining and processing transactions is really not just used for simple like transactions. The actual energy used to just send a transaction is quite cheap, but the whole process of mining is inefficient. So I think IOTA will be really interesting, and I think that it'll be cool to see machine-based economies, all the very philosophical stuff that IOTA has planned long term, where machines will be able to exchange IOTA between one another. It'll be really interesting. So yeah, Mark, I think that's a good pick, and it's cool to see someone doing something out of the norm. But anyways, Mac, you want to go up? You got anything you're looking forward to right now?
Hey, is my mic finally working?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, awesome. I mean, nothing in particular that comes to mind right now. I mean, sorry, I was kind of moderating the YouTube chat.
Oh, no, you're fine.
What was that?
No, basically, we're just kind of going down the list and just seeing, like, you know, do you have any coin projects that you're really interested in the crypto space?
Absolutely. Definitely on the Substratum train. I think what they're doing, especially with everything that's going on with net neutrality and all of the kind of controversy that comes with that, I think they're, you know, offering a potentially huge solution to some of those problems, especially in places like China. Even now, you know, the internet is heavily regulated there, so that's certainly an interesting market for them. Other than that, I mean, that's the biggest one on my mind right now.
No, yeah, no, I think Substream is cool. And it was funny how you, I like how you mentioned with China and everything with internet censorship. There's something that's really interesting that Substream decided to do, and I want to ask and actually check with Justin, the team, if they still have this planned. But there's ways how you maximize your return on Substratum. A lot of it is early participation, how much Substratum tokens you own, whatever it may be. There are those factors. But the other thing as well that I thought was really interesting is that if you're in a country like Iran or China or some area like that where there is high levels of internet censorship, where you have a higher risk and stuff running on the Substratum node, you actually get paid higher substrate. So it's a really cool system where they actually benefit those who have... okay, Mark, yep, have a good night, man. Thanks for sharing your opinions on IOTA and coming on the call, man. It was nice hearing you.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. Thanks a lot.
Fine.
Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. But yeah, no, I think Substratum, because of that, I think they have the right mindset of, you know, because with Substratum to run effectively with the nodes and stuff, they want people who are close together. So that's why they do need people to run nodes in China and everything as well. But what will be cool is it's going to be a global network as well. So you can have one thing I always like to get a big global picture of things. What's going to be really interesting is the infrastructure works very well with time. So a lot of people are going to be running their node not during the day, but they're going to run it at night on their computer. So when we're all running our nodes here in the United States, possibly, for those who are on the eastern part of the world, maybe in China, maybe in India, maybe in Iran, you know, there's the places that actually need Substratum, we'll be able to go to websites that we're hosting and everything on our computers. So it'll be cool to have that ability to kind of flip-flop nodes. So when we're during the day here in the US, we can depend on China's nodes when they're asleep, and all these really interesting kind of ways that it becomes a global network. And though I think Substratum is going for something very large, it is not going to be easy. They have been doing successful testing, so big reason why I'm optimistic on it. So I saw someone mention Mysterium. That was yeah, something I was optimistic on, and they didn't deliver even.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's me. Don't even compare it to Substratum. Substratum's delivering. That's don't bring up my recollection of Mysterium. I was optimistic on the project, but the one mistake I did is not look at the GitHub, and that's now one thing that I usually tend to do with projects that claim such bold things. So again, yeah,
you were young. You were young.
Yeah, yes, I was young in the crypto. my young reviews in the crypto space, and I've mastered my way of analyzing coins much better over the past few months. But yeah, I was early on, and I guess I was kind of buying into the idea. But
I did the same thing with SafeX, so
yeah,
you're excused.
Yeah, seriously, SafeX was looking good too because they sold yet again, I think, an idea. It was the Chile blockchain. It was this idea that it's a decentralized market that can't be shut down. That alone, not to mention with full privacy, would be absolutely game changing if it were to launch and you were to get mainstream adoption. If that happened, I mean, it would have been huge. But I think we all got sold on the idea of it, and then just like that, they had a failed wallet release. People continue to lose trust in them. I think they had some really bad interview or something. Again, I don't want to speculate. I haven't kept up with the project too much, but SafeX, I lost a lot of trust in.
Would have been a killer combo with Substratum.
Yeah, no, it would have. That'd actually be kind of cool. I know they have Substratum's working. They have crypto pay, which is going to be an interesting feature built into the Substratum network. And I love how Substratum isn't like based on a user downloading the necessary software to provide the infrastructure for the platform. It's like you have web hosting, which is decentralized. So it's at the end of the day, the user doesn't have to download some browser to access it or have some crazy, the website doesn't have to have some crazy URL. You can use all the same stuff. So I think they've done so many things right. And it would have been interesting to have some, maybe they can work on like a decentralized marketplace or something. That would be cool. But actually, real quick, Steven, yeah, we can definitely talk about Neo in a little bit. Do you guys have any opinions on Neo? I mean, I think everyone kind of knows my opinion. I'm still positive on it. I like the general concepts related to Neo. Or I think Neo is Neato. What do y'all think about Neo?
Possibly the next main cap.
Yeah, I could agree with that. You've got.
I'm just waiting for the whole China, politics and legislation to finish before I touch any Chinese coin.
Yeah, I think box mining, if I remember correctly, was covering some on I think it's daily update. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I skimmed through all the other YouTubers and keep up to date with them and stuff. And I think they were covering something about how like China was coming back with the FUD or something recently with the price of Bitcoin being high, but. Yeah, I think honestly, if you want to bet on any kind of Chinese cryptocurrency doing well, if you want to bet on that, it would be Neo probably being that project, because there's been lots of kind of, if you look kind of deep, there's a lot of weird connections. How Neo has been like pretty much not cooperating with the government. I don't want to say that, but they've been more cooperative than most ICOs that didn't get treated as nicely. During the whole crackdown of ICOs. So Neo's still hanging in. It's doing fine. I think Dao Hongfei is going to be on... He's going to be on Box Mining's channel soon. I messaged him on Skype about it. I don't know if he gave me any details. I think I asked him, but I'm not sure if he responded. But I'm hoping he gets the interview with Dao Hongfei. That's going to be cool. But I think we got the... Oh, we got the shot in the car and stuff. Are you near the...
Yep.
Oh, we got to see this.
In the car. Estimated time at the Opera House in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, cool. That's awesome. We're taking a tour through Sydney, Australia on live stream, guys. How cool is that?
I'll just leave it in the background, all right? I'll just listen to you guys in the meantime.
All right, sounds good, man.
Safe.
What you're doing is illegal.
All right, so Yuri, do you have any coin projects you're keeping an eye on right now?
Well, there are many projects I'm keeping my eye on, but I wanted to ask your opinions for if you maybe checked out Syndicator and co-founded.
Yep, I did a video early on for Syndicator. That one was interesting to me because they did hybrid intelligence. That to me was a pretty fascinating concept as someone who traded in like traditional markets and stocks and everything. How they were taking it's like the herd mentality of the crowd and everything, or crowd consensus, and then they were taking, I think, forms of artificial intelligence, if I remember correctly, combining them together, and they were able to. Oh no, the system was crowd intelligence, and then narrowing down which ones were consistent and gaining a consensus of opinion and giving rewards out. I know they came out, they supposedly announced some big update recently, so I will have to check into it, but I haven't been able to keep up with the project really. I did like it though, the idea of hybrid intelligence. I'm just curious if the application of how they're delivering on it would last long term. And I heard co-founded as well. I looked into it way back in the day, but I noticed they recently had a spike up. Was there some news on that recently?
I don't think there were many important news, but they got some new projects going on. Just today actually was an event they held here in Ljubljana. It was a live event, and they got all those teams from like 6 projects. They got there, and they introduced themselves, told us what the projects were, and I unfortunately had to leave earlier, but they held like a live ICO event. People were supposed to invest in the seed stages of these projects, and they would also be getting like a 2-to-1 ratio of those cryptocurrencies and those tokens. So I don't know, maybe it's because of these new projects, I guess. There was a spike up.
No, I can see it. Yeah, the adoption factor is important, getting projects built on top of it. But I was interested in the idea of kind of like a decentralized crowdfunding platform, kind of, or I guess wasn't not just crowdfunding per se, but way to kind of build projects on top of. I'm losing the name of it right now. There's so many projects. Co-founded, that's what it was. Yeah, no, co-founded. It did interest me early on and stuff. So it's good to see that. I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of like a slowing project and stuff. It's good to see that they are getting projects on top of it and everything, because I think there's a space for it in crypto.
I think it's important that they started to go out. The earlier projects were mostly from around Slovenia. Most of them were close to Slovenia, but now they are starting to go out. I know they're also working on new hubs around the world. They don't have the locations yet, but they want to go to strategic places around the world where they will be able to connect with as many ICO makers and such. But yeah, the locations are not yet known. But these new 6 projects, I know that one project was from USA, one was from Denmark, one was from Italy. Italy is close to Slovenia, but also from Singapore. So yeah, they're going, they're expanding.
No, it's good to see a kind of global adoption of it, and that's the cool thing about crypto projects is pretty much, I mean, in most cases, in practically all parts of crypto, we can all participate on a global scale. So that is cool to see co-founded getting some projects out there. I was optimistic when I heard about it and stuff, but I think it was one of those. It launched, I think, in June or July. Might have been in May. I'm not sure.
Yeah, around there. Yeah.
It was during the summer, and that was like at the peak of the altcoin boom and stuff for the first rally where things had gone up 10 or 20x. And I think it launched at a bad time in the sense of price, but yeah, no, nonetheless, I think it'll be cool. I'll try to catch up on the project and read into it. I hadn't heard much about it, Yuri, but I'm glad you brought it up, as well as Syndicator. I'd like to see what they're doing as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Hunter, do you got any projects you're looking at right now outside of the big dogs in crypto?
Hey, not a lot that haven't been mentioned. I think you guys have a lot more research and technical analysis that I've done, but I think IOTA is really interesting. Yeah, now I'm interested in the privacy coins. I haven't really thought a lot about that before, but it makes a lot of sense, the anonymity of it. So, yeah, A lot to add. Sorry.
No, honestly, hey man, it's fine. I think you're right on point with anonymity. I could go on. It's become a bigger topic ever since I've gotten into crypto and stuff, and I used to be huge on it back in 2011 when Edward Snowden and that all came out and stuff. And beforehand, I got really interested as I remember when I first started using Facebook and started using social media, and kind of like really almost what Web 2.0 was, this different type of web outside of just the information age with, like, you know, the very early stages of the internet when Twitter and all the social media started coming out, and there's so much metadata out there. It started to really change my perspective on how things are collected, how we interact, and how much of our information is tracked. And it's crazy. I went back, and I think it was on my Facebook or something, or yeah, I think it was Facebook, and I went back and I went like all the way back to my old posts and stuff, and I saw stuff from when I was really young, and I was just like, man, like it's all like it's still out there. Like Facebook has it on a data server somewhere, and like, you know, there's so much data collection. It's incredible. So I think that if there's any place we're seeing our freedom come back, it's in our finance, you know, financial freedom and the sense of crypto. And it would be great to have a sense of privacy with that. And why not do it in a world that is so technologically connected? If we have the infrastructure and we have the basis for it, why not apply it to what crypto is already doing? Why not have privacy features built in? And there are some arguments against it, to be fair, but I think the arguments against it are stuff that are going to, you know, it's usually always the dark web and stuff like that. I think people always toss out at the criminal aspect, but I think that's always going to be around. And well, you know, I think I think it was I can't remember who it was earlier who brought it up. It might have been Mark Nelson who brought it up. And I think he brought up the money laundering fear. And well, I think we all know one of our favorite banks in the world, JP Morgan, just helped a subsidiary launder money. So that happens either way. You don't need crypto for that. But yeah, so that stuff's always going to be in the world and stuff. I think privacy, though, is something that it's going to become more apparent and clear over the next few years when this kind of data collection comes up again, like it did with Snowden and when it did with a lot of the major leaks that came out that were tied to WikiLeaks. So yeah, no, Hunter, yeah, I think you're right on that. So a good call on the privacy coins. I'm definitely going to try and start covering them more because I haven't talked about them in a while on my channel. But Chef, do you have anything that you're looking at right now? Actually, no, Chef might still be gone, actually, I'm thinking. I don't know if Chef's here right now, but I know Chef...
Chef's in the garage right now.
Oh, he's in the garage? Okay. Did he just send I think
he's always in the garage or outside.
That's so true. Yeah, he's going outside for a little while and stuff. But yeah, no, I know Chef...
Just one thought on Tether.
Tether, yes.
Don't you guys find this odd that this supposedly crisis in Tether happens when Bitcoin goes parabolic and reaches all-time highs? Because with what are you going to buy Bitcoin dipping if not Tether?
Yeah, I think...
Well, I mean, it's paired with a lot of currency.
And very weird.
Like, it's not, you're not going to just buy it. Like, I can buy Bitcoin with my Ethereum or with my pretty much every other coin, right? So, but I think, I don't know, like the more I look into it, the more it seems dodgy. And I get nervous
right now. And being in an altcoin at this moment, they're probably going to recede comparative to Bitcoin. So you're looking for a safe place to hedge. And Tether is probably the best hedging platform. And they're taking this away from us in a time that we needed the most.
Exactly. That's it. It's something that it's been very hard for me to answer in live streams because I know people who some people are holding, and that's completely fine. In fact, most of my positions I've been holding, and if I have to weather the storm, I don't care too much. I don't care about my USD comparative. I care more about beating out Bitcoin and stuff, and that's why I trade sometimes. But so yeah, people have been saying Dash is a good hedge, and that was making me joke. I was saying, I think I said in the Discord or something like, I think DataDash coin would probably be pretty good. You guys should look into that one. But just kidding. But with hedges right now, we are very limited. As DeBilly said, you know, most altcoins are not going to perform well. It is very hard to find that, and people continue to ask me like Nick, which ones are you looking at? Again, I have my long-term holdings, which I think are not only good hedges. I'd mentioned I think there's a few good players out there. I think Substratum, Vertcoin, and a few others are ones that I'm personally optimistic on during this time period. And I will be doing a video, seeing as we're kind of still hanging in the red about those hedge positions. But it still is, it's at the end of the day, Tether used to be the go-to place because it's $1. You can step out of the crypto markets, but not really step out of them. And I'm telling you all, I mean, you can if you want, go ahead and transfer to Tether. I'm not stopping you all. But what I've learned about talking to Bitfinex, who's been on top of this entire topic, me and him were talking personally. And the video that I did and all the research I went under to look up into this topic, I wish I would have looked into it earlier, because I don't think I'll be able to on my platform warn enough people of it. It's quite scary. I bet if we were to check the Omni Explorer, I bet they've probably added more Tether, but they just added another 24,990,000 or something. They're adding all these, like, either it's usually big even numbers or one that has like $1,000 less from a big even or something, but they've printed over 100 million new Tether in the past week, and this is just the beginning of the cycle. Sometimes they last up for about 2 to 3 weeks. And now some people would say, Nick, I mean, this is obvious. It's pretty obvious why this is happening. It's a demand for liquidity in the market. You need capital with rising prices on Bitcoin, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I completely would get maybe that's why Tether's doing it. But what the issue is at the end of the day, oh God, here I am saying at the end of the day, but the real issue with that is the fact that they're claiming behind each Tether that before they enter it into circulation, there is a pegged 1-to-1 ratio of $1 sitting somewhere in a bank account. And this is what I continue to emphasize to people. Not only was there the news recently that they supposedly said that the value is backed up by people trading out for their altcoins or something. It was one of the former, I think, employees of Bitfinex or something on a Reddit post. But outside of that, let's just think about it for a second. Tether just got hacked for almost 31 million Tether. And banks are lending out hundreds of millions of dollars to Tether Limited to go out and create new Tether. I sure know I wouldn't as a financial institution. I would take the 5 minutes of research to look up what Tether Limited is and know, oh, they just had a hack on their supposed cryptocurrency. Not to mention, do I really want to be giving all this money to something that is supposedly being backed by a US dollar? Because as crypto investors stated, this is something I didn't even think about back a few months ago with Tether. I'm pretty sure government isn't going to like the idea of a decentralized currency that's backed by its own currency that they can't fully monitor or don't know how to control. Not to mention it's just not generally in their hands. So, I mean, the Tether issue goes out not only on a speculative sense, but on a fundamental sense, there is genuine worries that are justified and that you don't usually have with normal cryptocurrencies. So, I mean, I'm glad most people liked the video that I did on it recently, but for those who are still, haven't really looked in the issue, I recommend you go read Bitfinex's Medium articles. Follow him on Twitter, check him out. He's been extremely advocate in the space. But yeah, again, I can ramble on about it for hours, and if you've already seen my video, it would just be me repeating a lot. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so I guess we talked. Does anyone else have any kind of opinions on the whole Tether issue? I mean, I know I've given my 2 cents, but
I'd just like to add that I had a margin position that somehow mysteriously got closed, and I lost a ton of money on Bitfinex. And I tried to approach them about it, and they're like, "No, that's happening. It was on your end."
That's
but whatever.
So interesting. That's so interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're not the only one, Maddie. There has been people in the crypto community. Someone, I think Chef showed me a video where they were doing. Some guy did a huge margin trade on Bitfinex, and his money just it disappeared. And like now, some people say like, "Oh, it's a delayed transaction. You'll have it in there. They have high trading volume." And they still haven't gotten it. But Bitfinex, much like any other exchange, has. I mean, they. I don't blame them. They probably don't have the customer support, tools and employees at their disposal to, counteract these issues. But I think it's much more than an issue. I think Bitfinex is playing on some very thin air there. The fact that they don't have any solid banking behind them, much like Tether, and the connections that Tether and Bitfinex have, it's quite worrying. And not to mention that Tether is being used for, like you said, margin trading, which has an even bigger ramification when it's used for margin.
And it's so easy. And like if you're going to take out if you're going to take out one quantum or anything, any tiny amount, if you're going to take out like $5 worth of IOTA, out of Bitfinex, they want two-factor authorization, and they email you, and then you accept the email, then you go back into the platform, accept it, then it goes through once it's been authorized. It's a whole process, right? You can margin trade hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions of dollars, because they give you 3.3 leverage for every dollar you have in your margin wallet, like that. And if you make the slightest mistake, or like, here's a good story for you. I work at sea, and Amiseco was being pumped hard. I knew it was gonna drop, because Amiseco, I think, is one of the most it's one of my favorite projects. I got a lot of it, but I think it's one of the projects that's being I think Corel's about to cross the Harbour Bridge, by the way, guys. So
yeah.
You missed it.
So you there, Corel?
Yeah, you missed it. My phone went to low battery mode. Sorry, guys.
Oh, tragedy. That's right. I'll yeah.
Some other time.
So basically, like, it's really easy to do. I was at sea, and I was margin trading, and I made a bunch of money, and I closed my position. But because I was at sea, I lost internet reception just for the slightest bit, and the position showed up as closed. But then next time I got internet reception again, it was still open, and I lost a ton of money. So what I'm saying, though, with margin trading, it's really, really dangerous. I don't recommend anyone that tells me, Lally, I'm looking at going into it, I'm just say just don't. Like, there are experienced traders, like Crypto de Medici that I follow on Twitter. He's a really smart guy. He's a bit abrasive in his Twitter, but he makes some really good points. He just flat out refuses to learn to margin trade, even though he's like, his technical analysis is on point. He's got his finger on the pulse, and I think he doesn't do anything else other than crypto now. But essentially, some of the smartest people in technical analysis and finance in the world don't margin trade for a reason. Unfortunately, the side of it was just too tempting, and I played around and I lost a lot of money. But the thing is, though, like with Bitfinex particularly, anything can happen. And a lot of people don't realize Bitfinex is a sister company to Tether. So the parent company owns both Bitfinex and Tether. Now, that is one of the arguments you could use on Bitfinex's side, because they are the largest platform according to them. I don't know if they're being audited or not, but they handle a lot of volume, and you got a 0.2% maker, or 0.2% taker fee and 0.1% maker fee. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, on average a day they're making $3 million US in profit. So you could say, okay, like, it's a big business, like, why would they risk, messing around with Tether? That's that one side of it. But every bit of evidence for me is pointing that there's something really, really wrong with what's going on. Like, from what I understand, and as a newbie to finance and all that sort of stuff, essentially what I gather is one of the most blatant things they're doing is printing Tether, buying Bitcoin on exchange A, taking it to exchange B, selling it, cashing it out, and getting it real money. Mm-hmm. And looks like Eura's gone to bed once more. So essentially, it's very nice of him to get dressed for us. So I just, like, the more I look into Tether, it scares me. And I think the fact that it's a major cash out form for a lot of people. I understand that Kraken is the only place in the world where you can actually cash out Tether. But I also think the fact that Bitfinex recently went into Euro Tether is kind of like them kind of hedging their bets. But I'm getting really nervous. I cashed out a bunch of my, I've cashed out more than 50% of my positions. Just, I'm going to sit on the sideline because, frankly, I am a bit paranoid, but I think there's a huge correction coming, and it's going to be related to Tether, because eventually they're going to get caught with the dodgy shit they're doing.
That's the thing.
So
yeah, I think you're going to have a catalyst of. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say David Kim did a donation. He had a pretty funny comment. I just wanted to say thank you, David. That was funny. But going off what you were saying, Matty, I think you're right on a lot of the things you said. Margin trading, first and foremost, is very messy for the average investor. The only person I know who's successfully margin traded is in traditional stock markets, and he's a guy named Mir Barak. He has a YouTube channel, and he's one of the most honest traders I've ever seen. He does day trading, and he trades on margin 20 times leverage That's very high leverage. So he trades with only $15,000, but he trades at 20 times leverage. So he's trading hundreds of thousands of dollars in a stock in any given moment. And he does, like, he's done day trading daily for years and stuff. So you can go watch him in the morning and stuff. He now makes his live streams public. And they even have a whole education platform for it. It's really cool. One of the few guys I followed who was a trader. But yeah, outside margin trading is not for both the average individual, and it's also not for most institutions. If anything, they'll do possibly like single digit, like 2, possibly 3 times leverage, but it's on safe positions that aren't, you know, in this crypto space where things are going up and down 10, 20%, you know, left and right. So it's not something for the average person to use. And on the Tether issue, more specifically, the parent company connection, something to always keep in mind. And the pure reason, I think if Tether was a new project and they hadn't come out with an audit, I would be fine with it. But the fact that Tether has been around since 2015, they have yet to provide an audit, an official audit that shows what they've got on their books and what banks and what locations and any liabilities that they might have. Yeah, so seriously, alarm bells are ringing. It's a very concerning thing to see something that is almost at the rate it's going at now, how exponential the growth is in Tether. It's going to be $1 billion cryptocurrency soon. And we have to ask if there's going to be $1 billion in the bank. I don't believe that, even if it has Bitfinex's backing behind it, that they have $1 billion in freed up capital to just sit behind the sidelines. Highly doubt that. And I think if there's even the slightest leak, or another big YouTuber in the space, if someone who's big in the community, if you have Andreas, if you have continued talk from like Tony Vase, you have, you know, have them on for an interview and they don't answer a question straight, that's going to be bad. And I think you've got, outside of Tether, you've got a lot of things to worry about in the market. You've got BitConnect. BitConnect I'm going to officially do a video on here in the near future. Another in-depth video like I did with Tether. Massive implosive issue. If you have Bitcoin correct 20%, you're going to see BitConnect come down like the Ponzi scheme that it is, in my opinion. So I will do a video on that. I'll tell you all how, obviously it is a Ponzi scheme. I think most of us know that, but it's more about understanding how it's a Ponzi scheme and making that understandable to the people who participate in BitConnect. So I mean, there's a lot of things that can come in. Tether on margin trading, BitConnect, and if you have 2 or 3 of these dominoes coming, guys, don't be surprised if Bitcoin sees a 50% correction. That's just how markets are. There's a lot of crap in the market right now. A lot of altcoins that are going to go down as well. A lot of inflated ICOs. Things that you got to keep in mind. And, you know, we really are the .com of crypto. So that's where you get those kind of pullbacks. But anyways, yeah, we went...
Nick, sorry. Can I just add as well, like, everyone compares this to the .com bubble and everything. I wasn't around for it. I had no money back then at all. But essentially, I think what we need to realize as well, like you said earlier, is like PayPal, for example. I mean, Bitcoin's way overtaken PayPal in terms of market cap recently. But PayPal, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk basically got together and put their differences aside because they knew the .com bubble was going to burst. And it's in the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. It's a bit of a, sorry for the expression, but he's a bit of a wanker, but he makes some really good points in his book. But if we actually like look at it, like there was plenty of companies, like you say, that came out of it, you know, and I think if you invest in quality projects that are in the top 20 market cap, a few in the top 50 market cap, you might feel the sting, but if you don't sell, I think, you know, if all you have to do is look at the market, I mean, I'm talking about if things do tank, all you have to do is look at historical snapshots of where Bitcoin went and where it is now. Essentially, things are going to come back with full force. And if you're clever with your money, you're going to make a lot of money. If you don't get emotional and whatever else, there's a lot of money to be made. And, you know, a lot of these projects do deserve supporting, like on a fundamental basis, not just, you know, that you're going to make a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Yeah, it's more, that's why the majority of my positions I'm holding long term. It's one, I morally believe in the projects, blockchain in general, I want to be a participant in. And I mean, it's more than anything, you have to put your money up towards it if you really want to be a part of it, or developer yourself building your own project. But no, I think Mehdi's right on that. You've got some things that are not going to last. A lot of it is not going to last, and it's going to get flushed through because a lot of things are just simply forks off of Bitcoin, either the actual hard forks we've had with Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond. Just like, we almost had SegWit 2x, but I mean, there's been a lot of ridiculous forks. I think will get flushed out. You're going to have all these different projects that are pretty much based off the original Bitcoin. Oh, okay, Debility. Have a nice night, man. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
But yeah, I think you're going to have, along with the forks, you're going to have a lot of altcoins that are pretty much taking the Bitcoin source code, making slight modifications, and rebranding it. I think you're going to get that as well. You're just going to see a huge clean house, and it's going to be only projects that have either seen adoption or actually have technology that can make them competitive over the next year or two. And that's just how you would look at companies, because a lot of these, cryptocurrencies, as much as they're decentralized, they're like companies. They offer things different, and they're competing in the same space as a lot of other cryptos. And with 1,300, it gets quite competitive. So, again, like Mehdi said, find the projects you're confident can stay ahead of the curve. And it's not too hard to find those. You just got to get past the BS marketing. You got to get past the, I think what Chef was talking on earlier, there's a lot of crypto projects that give ridiculous bonuses of 100 or 200% if you register this week. And if you get through like the Paragons, the BitConnects, I mean, like all these very scammy, schmucky ICOs and stuff, if you can get past those, you cut out 80% of it, and it makes your job a lot easier. Look for good teams, people with experience. I remember I can't remember his name right now. He's kind of like the ICO guy on YouTube, but he was giving a speech or a presentation, and it's his whole channel is ICOs, but he was giving a presentation, and I took a look at the slide in this one video he was doing, and he said it was all these very generic things. 89% of successful ICOs have developers who've worked at accredited companies. Of course. It's just very common sense things like that. And everything he listed on there were not things that I would need to go to a conference to know, and I think any of us wouldn't need to go to a conference for. It's having the street smarts to look at something and be able to smell BS from a mile away, or know if a project's really about what it's all about. And if you can't get a visualized grasp as to how something is going to be a technological revolution, you probably shouldn't be putting your money into it, because it's not hard to do that with blockchain. There's so many great things going on, but it's in that 1% to 2% of projects, and that's even going from the start and everything. But again, I don't know. I try to avoid the hyped up ICOs. That's why I get reached out a ton to cover ICOs, and I don't do many of them because I don't like covering ICOs I don't believe in. And there's a lot out there that are just, I don't know, and they're not going to last more than the next few months, in my opinion. So yeah, but anyways, my little tangent stuff, but Mehdi brought up a good point there and stuff. But I'm noticing it is getting a little bit on the later end, guys. I would definitely say we're probably gonna head towards a close here. It's almost been 2 hours, but I do want to just kind of go around stuff. I guess we'll go through the chat here and see if you all have anything you guys want to talk about. Let's see here.
Also, Nick, I think it's also really good to mention, like you said earlier, a lot of people overlook that there's a lot of projects like this. I have a feeling that this is going to be what the stock market's going to be like in the future, where you're going to have something that's got an inherent value, or that people value in one way or another, and you can almost like atomic swap it instantly. But there's a lot of things. Like there was one that I found hilarious. Even I, as a newbie, I thought, why does it need to be on the blockchain? There was one, it was like a dating app or something on the blockchain. You don't need that, right? But there are a lot of applications that have that should be on the blockchain. Like for example, like logistics, or a whole bunch of other things, right? That should be there, that haven't been capitalized on yet, and I think we're going to see that in the future. And there's more to blockchain than just coins, is what I'm trying to say. And I think finding those quality projects out there is where the money is going to be in the future.
No, I agree.
In my opinion, anyways.
No, you're exactly right on that. That's the biggest problem with blockchain right now. Is I saw, for example, I don't know if you guys are optimistic on this. I saw, and we always joke about on the channels, Dentacoin, all these ICOs that take the most niche industries and they want to bring it to blockchain. And I don't know if you're any of you are optimistic on Datacore and even know what it is, but I'm not railing on that specifically. My point leads to the fact that there's so many concepts that they're big industries. They're, we're stepping into the $2 trillion industry this year on the blockchain, and it's very almost kind of clickbaity in a sense. It's very flashy because you're putting a multi-trillion-dollar industry on the blockchain. And really, a lot of the times, not only could you already do what that ICO is trying to bring to market on another crypto project, because a lot of it is data storage, but along with that, it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be brought to the blockchain. There's no need for it. And because of that, you have a lot of projects that are going to inevitably fail because all they have is a logo, a slight team behind them, and little to no technology or adoption. And because of that, these $100 million valuations you'll see can go tomorrow if people realize that there's no technology. And if you don't have one of those things, if you don't have the right team, if you don't have the right tech, if you don't have any adoption, they'll go away. They will. And one thing I really did like in one of the recent interviews I did with Justin from Substratum was that he said that you can have the greatest tech in the world, you can have the greatest team, but if you don't have the community there for it, if you don't get the adoption, it's going to die off. And there's a lot of great tech out there that isn't getting seen in the community. I think Cardano was one of those examples that no one knew about until it started running up. And then when people started realizing what it is, it's amazing. So if you can find those projects that people aren't talking about and you see the potential, and it's not some gimmick, this one industry on the blockchain or one very niche focus that's already been done 20 times and stuff, if you can avoid those and get the right ones, you can get a lot of good projects. What are those ICOs? I don't know. There's 1,300 coins to pick from and growing. So I think Andreas in his Bitcoin speech was talking. He mentioned altcoins and how there's going to be hundreds of thousands in the next decade. So with the ability for anyone to create a coin or a token, it's going to become more and more crowded. So you've got to get better and better at filtering out the noise.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, I guess we've kind of been going on here for almost 2 hours here, but I do want to say before I knock off the live stream and everything, first off, thank you all for viewing the live stream. I appreciate you coming on, but most importantly, I want to thank all you guys and even those who have left already and stuff. I appreciate you all coming on in the Google Hangout. I genuinely like this because on a normal live stream, I sit there for 2 hours just talking. And I don't really get to see face-to-face people and stuff, and it's really cool to see the global community that we have. We have our fellow Aussies in the Hangout and stuff. We have people who are up in Canada, different parts of the world. I mean, it's awesome to see it. I like it. So I really do appreciate you guys. And as the channel continues to grow, don't feel like it's gonna change at all. It's not all about DataDash. It's more about the DataDash community and stuff, and that's what I want to make it more and more about. So thank you guys for your continued support, and I know many of you are avid community members or supporters of the channel to help it financially run stuff. So thank you guys very much for all that you do.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well,
Cheers.
that's it. Definitely. Cheers back to you, man. I appreciate y'all. It means a lot to me. So yeah, so I guess if you guys want, I think I'm gonna hop on the Discord here in a little bit. If you guys would like to go on there, I might actually, well, it's 9 o'clock. I'm too tired to focus on doing my Cardano video tonight, but I will do it tomorrow morning. So be expecting that tomorrow, guys. But other than that, thank you all for hopping on the live stream, and I'll see you all in the near future. Take care, everyone.
All right, see you, Nick.
You too.
Take care.